I guess the biggest part of my management plan is to focus on technology and the ways that it can be used in the language arts classroom. In the digital age, students have access to technological devices more than any other age that has ever been used before. As opposed to preventing them from being used in the classroom like I was in high school, we would get detentions for using our phones at school, which was ludicrous to me. I'm for finding ways to encourage their use in the classroom as opposed to discouraging them because they have so many awesome uses. There was a statistic in 2015, Michelle Molnar found that by 2016, over 56% of classrooms would have one-to-one programs in place. A one-to-one program is just within the school, one computer is given to one student to use for educational purposes. This is actually an increase of 31% from 2012. I would love to encourage their use because I think there's so many awesome purposes that these can be used for. And as part of the Ohio State Standards for English Language Arts, they quote, use technology, including the internet, to produce and publish writing as well as to interact with others and collaborate and demonstrate sufficient command of keyboarding skills to type a minimum of 3 pages in a single sitting. So why not encourage their use in the classroom? It's part of the Ohio State Standards, so why not just encourage the students to use them? Students can get distracted with anything, a piece of paper and a pen, looking out the window. I mean, there's so many things in the classroom that students can get discouraged by and look around and not pay attention to. So it's all about finding ways to engage students to learn and to use these devices for what they were totally made for. In an article by Andrew Marcinek called Classroom Management in the Tech-Equipped Classroom, he said that technology should always support and reinforce the learning that has taken place, never precede it. Students tend to get distracted and go to play games or to play on Facebook as opposed to focusing on their content if they're given the devices first. So why not use these devices to support the learning, teach your lesson first, and then add in these awesome technological apps and games to support what has been learned. Another part of a management plan is that computers crash. That's one of the first steps in successfully integrating technology into your classroom. Have a backup plan ready. Computers die, internet goes down, servers crash. It's all about finding ways that these technology devices are not the total part of your lesson. That's not the total core of your lesson. You can find all kinds of different ways to incorporate them, but always have a backup plan. Also, he said in this article that technology doesn't have to increase or create distractions in the classroom, but if it's used without a purpose, it most likely will. Always have a purpose or a standard or a reason for using these devices, because if kids just think they're getting thrown a game, they're going to catch on and they're going to realize, why am I using this in the first place? He also said when you're integrating technology, you want to make sure that it aligns with the learning goals and ultimately help students reinforce those goals. That's a huge part of my management plan, again, because if students have a purpose and a reason for using these devices, they're going to encourage the use of them and they're going to love what they're doing. Successful technology integration hinges upon a healthy balance of online and offline time. So when balanced well, students can achieve great things, stay focused, and move toward their ultimate goal of learning. When you differentiate this instruction and kids can kind of go off on the beaten path and research their own research topic, and not everyone's doing the same thing, it gives kids a super great chance to learn what their goal is for the class, and may not be what their neighbor is doing, but they're still learning in their own way, and they still have a goal that they're trying to achieve. When one-to-one computing is not an option in the school district, students can use personal technological devices in my classroom. If they have a smartphone or a laptop or a tablet at home, why not bring those into the classroom and encourage their use as opposed to just banning them altogether? They have so many awesome purposes. When working independently with students, I will obviously manage the classroom by encouraging students to stay on topic and answering any questions that they have. If you are a part of their learning and travel the room and kind of help them with any problems that they're having, that's a super awesome way to keep them on track as opposed to sitting back and playing games. Kids that are bored tend to get off track. If you're engaging them in the learning and you're talking to them, that's a super awesome way to keep them involved and on track. Along with these one-to-one computing programs, a lot of schools have implemented iPads and tablets into their programs as well. And a lot of the apps I'm going to talk about here can also be downloaded on MacBooks or Chromebooks as well. The first app I'm going to be talking about is Explain Everything. Within this app, it's super cool. Students can interact with presentations, they can write questions and comments, and they can collaborate from their own devices. It's kind of a way to do a flipped classroom as well, so the teacher can record a lecture, students can watch it at home, interact, they can stop, they can talk about comments or questions that they may have, and then they can go back and talk about it in the classroom and kind of expand on that learning that they did at home, which is a super cool policy. Another app is called Nearpod. It adds interactive features of presentations that you upload as well. So like the other apps, teachers record their lectures, their presentations, and students can go back and add their own commentary or questions. And you can also pop in with like quizzes, or it's a super easy way for formative assessment to happen in the classroom. I really liked that app because students can kind of stop, and there's checkpoints along the way to check their comprehension and to check their understanding of things, and it's a super cool way to do this as opposed to just standing up at the front of the classroom, reading kids a question, and then writing it down on a piece of paper. And the third app I'm going to be talking about is Educreation. It basically turns your device into a recordable whiteboard. So the teacher can write on there using her finger or a stylus and then record over this to, again, help students to reinforce what they learned in the classroom, which would also work in a flipped classroom program as well. And then Google Classroom, it's similar to any other online gradebook, but it has so many awesome features as well. Students can submit work, teachers can send students reminders to submit their work, upcoming events, view the course schedule, and you can also collaborate with one another through discussion boards, which is a super cool feature. Students can kind of help one another to create ideas and to think about things, which is a super cool thing. This also eliminates the excuse for teachers to hear their students say, I lost my paper, or I left this in my locker, because all of these apps can be monitored by the instructor. So everything on the Google Classroom page, they can pull up in the class. They don't have to worry about printing off pieces of paper, which is super good for the environment as well, because you're not wasting paper and giving tons of copies to kids that lose things. All of these apps are monitored by the teacher too. Students are more likely to be productive and less likely to be academically dishonest because you can easily copy and paste and throw it into a plagiarism checker and see if kids have been honest in their work, which is another cool policy, another cool way that these apps and programs can be used. And by engaging students through the use of technology, they're able to transfer the knowledge they have learned from social media into the classroom. Kids are spending a ton of time, especially in the upper grades, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and they're learning to write for a digital purpose. So why not celebrate that and elaborate on that outside of the classroom? So that's a big part of my management plan as well.